I don't know the internal answers to that, but what you look at from the outside is they've just invested in some young, really explosive players who have come through the county system and who they've backed and believed in and given a good run. And I mean, I think for any country that's a great recipe to allowing young players to come through and play with flair and take it on. And in many ways, a kind of what looks like a cricketing culture shift for English cricket, where they're looking to play the game differently to what we've seen from them over many, many years. So it's great to watch. I mean, they're a really formidable one-day outfit. Well, they're showing that they can become a really formidable one-day outfit. So I'm certainly excited to watch and see how they develop. But they've got some proper match winners in that team at the moment that are making some big plays. I think it's going to be an interesting contest. I think our bowlers will be put under pressure in that space. But again, that's the beauty about contests between bat and ball. Where will the English batsmen be mentally on our conditions against some of the best proven seam bowlers in the world in all formats of the game? So often it could be a mental contest. I think certainly our bowlers will try and exploit our conditions as much as possible, although the wickets are much flatter in ODI cricket. But I think it'll make for a really interesting contest. And, that contest between bat and ball, and especially, are the batters getting put under pressure because of movement in the wicket or a bit of pace or a bit of seam? And equally, are the bowlers getting put under pressure because you've got guys who are willing to take it on and the wicket's good and they can hit through the line, and you're going to have to come up with counter strategies around that, and that's going to be great to watch. I think it depends on a lot of things. You might have a standout captain for all formats, but I've got a view that in the role of captaincy in international cricket these days is an incredibly arduous task. I recall watching test captains in action the day before the game starts, and they literally don't stop from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, and that's even before the game starts. So there's a lot of demand placed on the captain in cricket, much more than any other sport, and that's why I love the idea of a whole lot of different captains for the different formats, because I think it allows individuals to take some time off and just to focus on their games, and also it spreads your leadership base through your greater squad, and it allows for good collaborative thinking in that leadership space, which kind of in the modern world we're operating in, or certainly in the corporate space, that's where everything's going in management now, that we have groups of leaders rather than one leader making all the decisions. So I think it's good for the leadership base, and I think it grows leaders as well to aspire to being a leader in one of those formats in cricket. So I'm a big fan of it. It's such a loaded question and has been asked many, many times from anyone, and I won't fall into the trap of answering it one way or the other. Suffice to say that England have made their decisions about their strategies going forward in their cricket, and I think they've been quite outspoken about that, and it's really not for us as kind of foreigners to the England cricket space to make any decisions on their behalf other than have our own opinion, which I'm not going to share with you now. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting time for them. I think it begs the question, they've been on a hectically long tour of India, and they now head home, and they've got the better part of 2.5 weeks before the first test. What to do? Do you send everyone home and let them have a break for a week? It feels like some guys need some decent batting time on our conditions. Do they play some games? And I guess maybe it'll boil down to the individual, for the coach, Russell, to have a look at each individual and say, kind of, what do I need to do with each guy, to make sure that he's ready and prepared. Some guys need a bit more break than others. So it's going to be a tough one, and I'm glad I don't to have to make that decision in terms of where each one goes. But I think the players are going to enjoy being back on our conditions and kind of just getting used to and adapting to playing on our wickets. You know, in the professional era that we operate in now, they're always ticking it over. You know, and also there's a lot of fitness gained out of just match play alone. You know, you'll find a bowler in a day in a test match, he could end up walking and running up to 14, 15 kilometers in the day. So, you know, guys are staying naturally fit in that space. I think the biggest challenge is the guys not playing and what work they're doing, you know, as they potentially could be thrust into a position in the team. But you know, you've got your fitness trainers there all the time, so in that professional space, everyone's ticking it over as best they can. I think it's adapting to conditions abroad and understanding those conditions, and South Africa have proved over 8 or 9 years to be the best proponents of travelling in the world by a long way. We've got a record that is a proud one and should be celebrated more, that we're a team that by a distance is the best touring team in world cricket. I think this Indian series is the first series we've lost in 8 or 9 years away from home, so it's an incredible performance. The guys will love being at home. They will love the support, playing on our conditions, on our wickets, understanding everything around it. So I think it's always nice to play at home. There are added distractions. To be honest with you, in my personal capacity, I prefer touring because I found that my focus of attention was just on cricket and no added distractions. So they just have to manage that space well and make sure they cover their bases and are really focused for each game. It's an interesting process. I watched the Ashes quite closely. They've left out Ian Bell, for example, who, for me, has been kind of a stalwart in their batting lineup and has battled a little bit, which opens a space for someone who's a little bit more inexperienced. I think either Compton or a balance. But you know, Joe Root's proven to be one of the top batsmen in the world. Alistair Cook knows how to spend time at the crease, and I think it's going to be an interesting series for both batting units in many ways, because I think both bowling units are pretty strong and there's some great experience on the bowling side. So you know, the question on the batting units is which team is going to manage the conditions better, and you know, I think that's where the challenge sits. You know, England have come to South Africa many times. I don't know how many of the current squad have been to South Africa and played in test match conditions here, so that'll be an interesting challenge for them. So I think they mix their batting lineup with some decent experience, with 1 or 2 real match-winning players, with a bit of kind of youthful exuberance. So I think there's opportunity for South Africa to exploit, but at the same time, I think they're backing some of the younger players to come through. Yeah, I mean, I guess we've probably answered that. You know, it's. I mean, he's a great player. I love his mental capacity. You know, just looks really strong mentally at the crease and knows how to go through tough situations in the middle. And I think England would rely heavily on those types of individuals for Test match cricket in South Africa, to go through really tough sessions, battle it out. And then to get over it. But you know, the one thing that'll be for sure that in test match conditions in South Africa, your technique is going to be tested. And if you're short on your technique, and you've got some flaws in the fundamentals of your test match technique, you're gonna be exposed. So I think there lies a real challenge, especially for the England batting lineup. I think a bit twofold. I've always been a fan as a coach of allowing bowlers to bowl to their strengths, but then you've got to take learning, you know, forward. You know, is there a way that I could bowl slightly differently that will bring better results? You know, maybe I used to swing the ball and now suddenly I've lost my swing. Do I make sure that I get that technically sorted out? Maybe one or two of our bowlers maybe bowl a bit short. Can I pitch the ball a little bit up more? So each player is growing in his bowling strategies, and I think, you know, when you hit the second half of your career, your growing is exponential because you've now had a whole set of experiences to work on. So I think the players will say, what can I do in my game to just upskill or just to polish a little bit, and then go into the opposition and say, what are the areas with each batsman that I can exploit? And you know, generally what happens in bowling meetings in preparation for test series is you have kind of a plan A, B, and C for each player. And you say, what is the go-to plan, first of all, to try and get him out? And if that doesn't work, what is plan B and plan C? So there will be homework done in that space. No, there will be, I think it will be really specific kind of thinking around each bowler and the experiences that they've had against them already, and you know, and kind of setting up your game plan accordingly. And a lot of that's a mental process, you know, just to understand where are some of these guys mentally in the middle of a test match, and where are they most dangerous. You know, you might find some guys are dangerous in their second or third spells, whereas the first spell you can score off. So I think the players will all understand that and do a bit of homework in that space. And then, you know, also understand where the potential threats sit with each bowler. Each guy's got an identity as a bowler, and each batsman needs to prepare accordingly and be aware of those potential threats. So they'll do a lot of work in that space. Yeah, again, you know, those are questions that, thank goodness, I don't have to answer. You know, it's a tough one. Stiaan van Zyl's a quality player, you know, and he's already got hundreds for South Africa, and you know, you don't just want to, you know, throw that talent away. So I think it's potentially some tough decisions to make. I've always been a fan of persevering with people, because I know that if they're quality players, and that's why you're picking them in the first place, then run with them, back them, because they will reward you because of that quality. And you know, so I think if you're chopping and changing players, then you're not recruiting properly. So let's hope they give them a decent run, and I'm sure they will be rewarded. I don't know. I think that's quite a difficult question, because ideally you want a spinner that does both, you know. But then the bowler that always comes to mind to me is Paul Harris, who played 50 tests for South Africa and did an outstanding job in holding the game and allowing seamers to rest and then come back and our seamers to do the bulk of the damage. So that role can be a very important role. But equally, you know, you love to have a spinner who's a genuine wicket taker. You know, whether we have the genuine kind of dangerous wicket taker in our resources today, maybe not a standout guy, but we do have guys that have the ability to get wickets. So I kind of think we're probably looking for the individual that can probably hold the game a little bit more and can, you know, be called on to give a kind of 3-run and over for a period of time and not put too much pressure on the scoring rate, and then allow our fast bowlers to rest and come back. That's probably where we're angling more towards, I think. Well, the guys that they've tried at the moment have been Simon Harmer, they've tried Dane Pitt, they've tried Imran Tahir, Iram Pingiso is also kind of there in the mix. I think that's about it. I don't know if there's anyone else, but it's difficult to pick one of them in my opinion. I think in many ways the decision could rest on who's the best batsman amongst that group, and you know, I think a number 8 batsman is critical in Test match cricket. So we could find that there's an individual that they feel is a better batting option that could win him over from the rest of the guys.